Hello there, fellow humans, and welcome to the VK168. And I don't want to make this video, but I'm going to do it anyway because torturing myself is probably the point of all this in the first place. So here we go with the VK168. It is sold for 5,500 gold in this bundle, which means this is the same price as the T34. But it is a substantially worse value as you don't get the 30 days of premium and the 500,000 creds. So, and you also have a worse tank here because the T34 is better for making creds than the VK168. Now you also have the VK4503, but given it's a tier 7, so as a premium tank, relatively useless. As a competitive tank, rather decent, but why would you buy this when you can just play a Tiger instead and get the same results, essentially? And the same goes for the bundle of both. You have 8,500 for both of them. I would much rather get an AMX M449 because then I at least have a competent and good tank rather than two very meh vehicles. And with that said, now let's have a look at the stats of this vehicle and the armor, and then let's unfortunately play it. I'm already looking forward to that. Not. Now, obviously, before we go any further, don't forget to like and subscribe, and also, don't forget that this thing is good in gravity. That's the only use this vehicle has, it is good in gravity. That is the only thing this tank is useful at. You have 220mm penetration on the AP. As I said, T34 has 248, so the T34 is the substantially better premium tank here. Now, that actually is non-existent at 0.38. The aim time is decent, however, and the movement dispersions are absolutely horrible as well, and so are the movement dispersion on the T34, but at least it does have a lot better accuracy. Same goes for something like a Löwe. Obviously, the gun on the VK168 and the VK100 are essentially identical. You also have something like a KV5 here, which trades 1mm of penetration for 300 DPM. So at that point, I would rather have the KV5, especially because the KV5 is also substantially more mobile at 13 power to weight ratio. Obviously, if I choose, I would always go for the AMX because it is the fastest of these, and mobility is very important to decide battles into your favor, because obviously if you're out of position, then you can switch position a lot easier, and you can be a lot more useful in a battle with a tank that has more mobility, because with this one, you're more likely to be stuck in one position, and that's it, especially also with having 20 kilometers an hour top speed, whereas the others have 35 or 40. Especially a KV5. So essentially, the existence of the KV5 makes this vehicle absolutely 100% obsolete, especially also because if we do look at the weight, it does have 168 tons. The KV5 still has 100 tons. So even for gravity and stuff like that, for ramming, I think the KV5 is still a very good choice. It isn't quite as heavy as the VK, but it still packs a lot of weight. And the KV5 is also usable in regular battles, whereas the VK168 is just fat. So there is that, and that also is reflected down here, as you can see. The KV5 is doing a lot better, albeit a lot less players as well. And in terms of the armor, let's have a look at that as well, because it does look good, but is it actually? And obviously when a tank has 170 tons, it does have to have good armor, right? Well, against tier 7s, you're impenetrable. That's something, but then again, the same goes for something like an AMX M449. Except when you smash it with heat rounds, the cupola is very big and very easy to hit, and also very easy to penetrate, so that is the biggest weak spot of this vehicle, and is relatively easy to hit. Now, the front plate, 300mm, can't be penned. Lower plate, 140mm, can be penned relatively easily. However, it's very small, as you know, the tracks are very wide, so lower plate is relatively small and hard to hit. Now, this, I don't know if this is actually a weak spot in game. I don't think it is, but anyway, the front plate is pretty much impenetrable unless you're shooting at it from all the way above, which is not going to happen too often, and at that point you can shoot into the top plate as well. Now the sides, 130mm, very strong, and 160 on the turret, so you can be penned flat on the sides, stuff like that. The armor is obviously absolutely excellent for this vehicle. Rear can be penned relatively easily. Now, problem though is, first of all, you have 8 degrees of calibration, which is not too bad, but you can be penned with the sides here, especially with tier 8 premium rounds. A lot of them, like a T34 for example, can pen straight through this, and also tier 9s obviously, and against tier 9s you're completely useless anyway, so that is a bit unfortunate. So let's play this tank, and let's see if it has anything that redeems it besides its ability to ram people in gravity. And even that, it can't do as well anymore, because obviously they introduced thrusters. So, you all know I hate this thing, and the only positive thing I have to say about this, it takes so long to get into battle that you have one hand free to do whatever you please with it until you actually arrive in the battle 10 minutes later. So that's a bonus. Now, obviously, you have absolutely horrible mobility, non-existent accuracy, and a relatively bad gun. You do have good alpha damage, though. And the armor, while useful on paper, pretty much everyone with premium rounds can pen it, and the cupola is always weak and always sticks out. And also, the tank is massive, so if someone gets to your side, they're going to be able to easily penetrate that as well. So, yeah, you're just a big hunk of metal waiting to die at this point, and it's not versatile, it's not useful. It's simply there to be an annoyance on the battlefield, and I don't know, whoever of you enjoys driving around at 20 kilometers an hour, I certainly don't. So, yeah, overall, you're basically just adding hit points without adding anything else to your team, most of the time at least. Now, obviously, if the enemies are incompetent and they don't know how to aim, then this thing can obviously be very, very noob-proof, and it can be very hard to kill, obviously, and that is probably going to be the case, and that is what it can do well at. The problem is that there are so many problems with this tank. It's slow, obviously, so you can't reposition yourself. If the enemies are where you aren't, then it's basically impossible to get to the other side and actually have any influence. And the same goes because you're pretty much just the damage sponge for your team if you're not where the enemies is, and yeah, then congratulations, you'll become useless, which is not great. And you can't even shoot at long range most of the time because look at the accuracy. You can't hit much. I mean, you can hit a Tiger too, but that thing is already massive as well. And that's another thing. Why would you play this thing, which is slower, has more weak spots, and has a worse gun than a Tiger 2 when you could just play the Tiger 2 or a PKV-5? There is absolutely zero reason to get this besides its weight and how it does at ramming. And that's the only thing. I mean, it can be useful at gravity, as you can see, with 300 damage already done to the Tiger P here. That's quite a lot. Now, the only usefulness this vehicle has is in gravity. Outside of that, it is a complete waste of money and complete waste of time. But even in gravity, you can just get yourself a KV-5 and you have a better tank as well. Because obviously, in gravity, you now have thrusters, which means it's not that effective anymore. It's still super slow. So, people can just jump out of the way. And all you can do really is ram other heavies, which isn't really fun either. I mean, it can be, but still. Okay, we're probably not going to get the kill because the gun's horrible. But anyway, 3,000 damage. That's good enough. I'm not going to play another battle in this piece of whatever this is. And to the people that know my channel already, you probably did expect this kind of review for this vehicle. It is absolutely garbage. Yeah, buy the MX instead. Buy the T-34 instead. Ignore this thing. It doesn't exist. Just leave it where it is. And don't buy it. Alright? Thanks for watching. See you for the next one. And if you do have this tank, if you do enjoy it, put it in the comments why. I want to understand. See ya.